There is a truth too powerful to ignore, too dangerous to forget, and too sacred to leave behind. Your future isn't waiting for you out there. It's being sculpted right now by what you do today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things settle down or make more sense. Today, every moment, you are either feeding your future or starving it. You are either investing in the life you said you wanted or silently drifting further from it. And the most terrifying part? Most people don't even realize they're drifting because it doesn't feel like failure. It feels like later. It feels like scrolling. It feels like just one more episode. It feels like I'll start Monday. But Monday never comes because the future doesn't respond to intentions. It responds to decisions, to action, to discipline, to the invisible hours no one sees that shape the life everyone wishes they had. Today is not just a day, it is a door. And every choice you make is either pushing it open or slamming it shut. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need all the answers. You just need to move. You just need to show up. You just need to stop letting your dreams die in the shadows of procrastination. The world doesn't reward the hesitant. It rewards the consistent. Consistency beats talent. Consistency beats intelligence. Consistency beats inspiration. Because the future belongs to the ones who keep showing up when the feeling fades. The ones who make excellence a lifestyle, not a mood. And how do you do that? You start with mindset. You stop seeing today as something to survive and start seeing it as something to steward. You stop saying I have to and start saying I get to. You stop living on autopilot and start leading your life like it matters because it does. Every great life is just a series of ordinary days, lived with extraordinary focus. The question is not, will your life matter? The question is, will you choose to make it matter today? When you wake up with that kind of clarity, your energy changes. Your decisions sharpen. You stop being driven by emotion and start being driven by principle. Principle doesn't fluctuate. Principle doesn't wait for motivation. Principle says, I act from who I am, not what I feel. And that's how your habits begin to shift. Because habits aren't about discipline. They're about identity. The person who says, I'm just not consistent, will find 1,000 reasons to prove themselves right. But the one who says, I'm someone who follows through, will become it. You act like the person you believe you are. So choose your beliefs wisely. Choose them with fire. Choose them like your future depends on them, because it does. Now let's talk about clarity. Clarity is your compass. Without it, your energy leaks into everything and accomplishes nothing. You become busy, but not effective. You move, but not forward. Clarity asks, what do I really want? Not what looks good, not what they expect, not what I feel obligated to pursue. What do I want so badly that I'd bleed for it, fight for it, get up early and stay up late for it? That kind of clarity carves out a path. And once the path is clear, discipline becomes sacred. Discipline is not about force. It's about reverence. Reverence for the calling on your life. Reverence for the dreams inside you. Reverence for the opportunity you've been given to wake up, to rise, to build, to breathe. Every time you choose discipline, you're choosing legacy over laziness. Every time you keep your word to yourself, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. And those votes, they count, they compound, they create momentum. Momentum isn't magic, it's math. Small, consistent, repeated acts of courage, stacked over time that erupt into breakthroughs the world calls overnight success. But it's not overnight, it's just invisible, until it's undeniable. So act today, even if it's small. Because small, done daily, beats big, done occasionally. Write the paragraph. Make the call, show up at the gym, study the page, send the message, stack the wins. Every little win is a brick. And brick by brick, your future begins to rise. But you must protect that momentum. Guard your attention like treasure. Your phone is not your friend when your focus is fragile. Every scroll is a withdrawal from your purpose. Every distraction is a delay. Design your environment for war, remove temptation, create rituals, make excellence easier than failure. And when the day fights back, and it will, you fight harder. Because the cost of quitting is too high. You lose confidence. You lose credibility. You lose the respect of the one person you cannot afford to lose, yourself. And if you've lost that respect, get it back. Not by doing something grand, by doing the next right thing. Integrity isn't built in declarations. It's built in decisions. Show up today. Not because it's easy, but because it's who you are now. This is the new you. The you who acts in alignment, who lives by decision, not delay, who no longer waits for the future, but creates it today. Because your future isn't waiting at the end of your comfort zone. It's waiting on the other side of your commitment. And the only way you reach it is by honoring the power of now. Today is a gift. Not the kind you unwrap with ribbons and smiles, but the kind you earn through awareness, through action, through the hard decision to use it as fuel, not furniture. To burn it for movement, not sit in it for comfort. Because today is a forge, and you are the fire. You either light it with purpose or let it burn away unused. Most people don't waste their lives in years. They waste it in minutes, in moments unlived, in choices delayed, in dreams repeatedly filed under someday. But someday is a liar. Someday is how potential dies dressed in the costume of patience. It is how you justify smallness, how you decorate fear and call it wisdom, how you convince yourself that the time to act is always just around the corner. But the bold know better. They know that now is a multiplier. That one day of focused action today is worth more than a week of half-hearted effort tomorrow. Because when you act today, you shift the entire trajectory. You send ripples into your future that become waves of opportunity. You cast votes that elect the future version of you you've been dreaming of. You turn someday into done. This is why urgency matters. Not stress, not anxiety, urgency. The quiet, powerful recognition that life is short and too sacred to be spent on things that don't move the needle. Urgency brings clarity. It forces you to prioritize the real over the convenient, the meaningful over the easy, the legacy over the like. And when you live with urgency, you stop living for applause. You start living for alignment. Because here's what no one tells you. The future is not built in bursts. It's built in rhythm, in the beat of a repeated commitment, in the tempo of daily execution. The future belongs to the rhythm makers, the ones who don't need to sprint, who don't need to go viral, who don't need to win the morning to win the day. They just show up every day with grit, with grace, with the quiet power of consistency. They know the power of routines, not rigid ones, rooted ones. Routines rooted in clarity, in identity, in values that don't shift with the weather. Because when your habits are stronger than your feelings, your future becomes inevitable. But it doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you make today matter. When you make today the day you stop outsourcing your power. When you stop blaming time, people, your past, and start taking ownership. When you take radical responsibility for what happens next. And you don't do it because it's fair. You do it because it's freedom. Because when you own today, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You become a creator of circumstance. You become someone who designs their life instead of enduring it. You begin to build. And yes, some days will feel slow. Some days will be quiet, unseen, ordinary. But don't confuse ordinary with unimportant. Today might feel small, but it is never insignificant. Because what you do today teaches your future what to expect. Every word you write, every workout you complete, every dollar you save, every boundary you set, every courageous conversation you initiate, it all adds up. Compound interest is not just a financial principle, it's a life principle. Your habits, your values, your discipline, they are compounding in real time. And the person you become 6 months from now, they will be built from the bricks you lay today. Or they will be starving, standing on the ashes of days you let burn away. So don't let this one go to waste. Do the work, make the call, apologize, forgive, begin, build, create. Say yes, say no, say now. Because this is the moment. This is the ground. This is the space where your future is either shaped by design or left to drift by default. You get to decide right now what kind of future you'll meet and whether or not it will be proud of the choices you made today. So ask yourself one more time, what must be done? Then do it with intensity, with love, with power, with full awareness that the future does not begin when the stars align. It begins when you do. And when you begin today, something sacred shifts. The resistance that held you back begins to loosen. The fog of confusion begins to lift. The excuses that used to feel like truth begin to sound like noise. Because the moment you take bold, committed action, not just think, not just plan, but act, you start to remember what it feels like to be powerful. You remember that you were not created to drift. You were not designed to repeat someone else's patterns. You were born with a voice, a vision, and a mission uniquely your own. And the only way to honor that is to stop postponing your greatness. Today is not the warm-up. It is the game. And the stakes? They are eternal. They are legacy. They are the generations ahead who will be shaped by the example you set right now. Because the truth is, your future is not yours alone. It's the ripple effect of your courage. It's the echo of your decisions in the hearts of others. It's the evidence you leave behind that proves someone stood up. Someone chose action. Someone stopped waiting. Someone made today count. So stop looking for signs. You are the sign. You are the signal that change is possible. That momentum can be created from nothing. That a new chapter can begin mid-sentence. But only if you're bold enough to turn the page. There is no rewind, no redo. Just now. Now where the habits are formed. Now where the beliefs are challenged. Now where the reputation is built. You don't get remembered for what you intended to do. You get remembered for what you did with the time you had. And this is that time. You want purpose? Plant it in your calendar. You want passion? Feed it with action. You want transformation? Start with one simple promise and keep it. Because that one act of integrity can become the keystone of a whole new life. You don't need to move mountains today. Just move your feet. Write the first line. Make the first rep. Take the first breath. Say the first no. Build the first brick. And tomorrow when it gets hard, will you do it again? Not because it's easy, but because you decided that today matters. That life is not something you manage. It's something you build. And every action is a beam. Every word, a nail. Every moment of courage, a cornerstone. The question is no longer, can you do it? The question is, will you honor the opportunity to do it now? Because the most dangerous lie is, I have more time. No, you have this time, this moment, this heartbeat, and it's enough. Not because you're fully ready, but because you're finally awake. So rise, move with intention, speak with clarity, create with courage, build with discipline, love with urgency, lead with conviction, and live with the fire of someone who knows their time is not infinite, but their impact can be. Because at the end of your days, when you look back, the question won't be, what did I plan? It will be, what did I do with what I was given while I had the chance? Make sure the answer is this. I made today count so my future could rise. And as your future rises, it won't rise because you were lucky. It won't rise because you were the smartest. It won't rise because everything went according to plan. It will rise because when the moment came, you answered it. You didn't flinch. You didn't fold. You didn't sell your destiny for the convenience of tomorrow. You stood your ground. You owned your breath. You lifted your head. And you declared with your actions, not your words, I am here to build something eternal. Because the real reward is not just what you achieve, it's who you become. And who you become is decided by what you're doing now. So to the hard thing today. Say no to what doesn't align today. Choose progress over perfection today. Speak with conviction today. Act with integrity today. Start the uncomfortable conversation today. Get up earlier than your excuses today. Move your body today. Read the book, make the plan, clean the space, take the risk today. And don't look for applause, don't look for comfort, don't look for proof that it's working. The proof is in the doing. The proof is in the rising. The proof is in the shift you feel when you know you kept your word to yourself. That's the magic no one can give you. That's the confidence no one can steal. That's the energy that builds empires. It doesn't start with money. It doesn't start with luck. It starts with discipline over distraction, purpose over pleasure, now over one day. This is your advantage. You've made the decision that most won't. You've said yes to today, when others are still sleeping on their someday. And it doesn't matter how far you have to go. It only matters that you are no longer willing to stand still. Because the road to greatness isn't paved in leaps. It's paved in inches. It's not one massive breakthrough. It's 10,000 small moments of commitment, stacked quietly in the dark until the light finally breaks through. And it will. Because time always honors the diligent. The universe always rewards the aligned. And life? Life always responds to the one who shows up with relentless courage day after day and declares, my future will not be left to chance. It will be crafted in choice. And those choices will be made starting today. So choose. Live like it matters because it does. Work like your children will tell stories about it because they will. Speak like the world is listening because it is. And act like your future is watching because it's already becoming what you decide now. No more delay. No more doubt. No more maybe later. Only this, a relentless, intentional, unshakable you, creating a legacy one day at a time. Starting here, starting now, because your future is not out there waiting. It's being built one courageous moment at a time by what you do today. There's something sacred about momentum. Once you earn it, protect it. Don't let distractions negotiate it. Don't let fatigue dilute it. Don't let the minor invade the space you carved out for the monumental. Because when you start honoring what matters with your time, your energy, your discipline, life begins to open in ways it never did before. You start noticing synchronicities. You start becoming magnetic to opportunity. You stop trying to force growth and you start allowing it through alignment. This is what people don't understand about high performers. They aren't superhuman. They're just present. Present with their priorities. Present in their decisions. Present in the moment they've been given. They don't waste it trying to please everyone. They don't spend it chasing validation. They own it. And in owning today, they multiply their future. Because ownership is the beginning of all power. You cannot lead a life you refuse to take responsibility for. You cannot attract abundance while blaming circumstances. You cannot rise while rehearsing reasons to stay small. The only person who can change your life is you. Not your boss, not your partner, not the economy. You. The day you fully accept that, not as a theory, but as your truth, is the day everything begins to shift. Because with responsibility comes freedom. Freedom to rise, freedom to evolve, freedom to rebuild everything that life tried to steal from you. But it begins with a simple question. What can I do today? Not what's wrong, not who's to blame, not what's missing, but what can I do? What can I build? What can I improve? What can I forgive? What can I create? Because power lives in action, not reaction. Action is the lever. And the lever always moves the world, but not if you're standing still. So move, even if it's imperfect, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it feels small. Move, because motion creates emotion, and emotion creates identity. You are not your past. You are not your delay. You are not your failures. You are what you do today, repeated enough to rewrite your story. So ask yourself, are my habits feeding my future or starving it? Are my choices today making my future self stronger, wiser, richer, or more stuck? You already know the answer. You already know what needs to be done. And yes, it's hard. Yes, it's easier to scroll, to drift, to delay, to drown in low-effort dopamine and tell yourself you'll get to it tomorrow. But the bold, the free, the fulfilled, they don't wait for perfect timing. They create it. They don't ask for permission. They decide. And that decision is what makes the difference between the person who lives on repeat and the one who lives on purpose. You've played small long enough. You've talked about it long enough. You've waited on confidence long enough. Now is the time for action. Ruthless, focused, unapologetic action. And with every step forward, you remind yourself, I am not the version of me who procrastinates. I am not the version of me who talks and never does. I am the version of me who builds one habit, 1 hour, one decision at a time. Because that's what your future deserves. Not the leftovers of your attention. Not the scraps of your effort, but the full weight of your commitment. Show up for it. Not when you feel ready, but because you're no longer willing to abandon yourself. Because abandoning yourself is the quietest kind of betrayal. It doesn't make noise, it doesn't leave bruises, but it leaves something far more dangerous, a fracture in your spirit, a silent drift from the person you were born to be. Every time you delay what you know must be done, you reinforce a version of yourself that settles, that accepts scraps, that tolerates a life below your calling. But not anymore. You weren't made to crawl through life apologizing for your ambition. You weren't built to live on pause. You were designed to move mountains. And it starts with the smallest move today. Because once you start taking yourself seriously, the world follows suit. Once you stop negotiating your values, the world stops trying to pull you in 100 directions. Once you show up for your vision like it's non-negotiable, everything that used to distract you loses its grip. You become a force not because you shout louder than others, but because you act more than most. You stop wasting energy, managing impressions, and start investing it in impact. That's the real shift. You stop asking, how do I look? And start asking, what am I building? You stop trying to prove yourself and start becoming yourself. Because when your actions align with your highest self, confidence isn't something you chase, it's something you emit. You walk with different energy when your life is in alignment. You speak with different authority when your words are backed by action. And you become dangerous to the parts of the world that profit off your doubt. You stop being manageable, predictable, passive. You become magnetic. Not to everyone, but to the right ones. To opportunity. To purpose. To people who recognize the fire in your eyes and say, yes, that's someone who's going somewhere. And you are. But don't get it twisted. This isn't about hustle. This isn't about burnout. This isn't about proving your worth through output. This is about honoring the life you were given with choices that reflect its value. This is about rising into the rare air of those who finish what they start, who honor their commitments in the dark when no one's watching, who treat today like it matters, because it does, because it's all you truly have. Tomorrow is a rumor. Yesterday is a shadow. Today is your only certainty and your greatest leverage. What you do with it matters more than what you feel about it. So do it anyway, even when you're tired, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one understands, because your future is not going to thank you for staying comfortable. It will thank you for choosing courage. The courage to break the cycle, the courage to break the silence, the courage to look your old patterns in the eye and say, you don't own me anymore. Because this is not just about achieving your goals. This is about reclaiming your power. This is about ending the war between who you are and who you were pretending to be. This is about stepping into the room with the quiet confidence of someone who has kept promises when it was hardest. And you'll know it not by applause, but by peace. The kind of peace that comes from living in alignment. From looking in the mirror and saying, I showed up for me today. And when you stack enough of those days, day after day, brick by brick, something unstoppable is born. And when you are unstoppable, the world has no choice but to adjust. It bends. It shifts. It realigns itself around the presence of someone who is no longer waiting to be chosen. Someone who has chosen themselves. You become the one who no longer watches from the sidelines. You step onto the field, bloodied if necessary, exhausted at times, but present, alive, engaged, responsible for your role in the outcome. Because you finally understood this is your game. No one else is coming to run it for you. No one else can clock the hours, endure the discipline, hold the standard, or raise the bar but you. And when you stop looking for a shortcut and instead build the stamina for the long game, you become elite. Not in title, in mindset. You see, elite isn't about status. It's about standards. It's not how high you reach, but how deeply you commit. It's how low you're willing to go to lay the foundation others skipped. It's how many times you're willing to do what's right instead of what's easy. And the elite don't rely on pressure to act. They rely on principle. They don't need eyes on them to perform. They need purpose. They don't wait for things to get easier. They evolve. That's who you are becoming. Not because of what you say, but because of what you do today. And today is no ordinary day. It is another brick in the compound of your becoming. Another brick in the wall between your former life and the future that's calling you. That future has a voice. It has been whispering to you for years, telling you to rise, to stop settling, to stop breaking your own heart with promises you never intend to keep, to stop postponing the masterpiece you were meant to build. It's not asking for perfection. It's asking for presence. Presence in this moment, in this breath, in this choice. Because if you can win this moment, you can win the hour. And if you can win the hour, you can win the day. And if you can win the day and do it again tomorrow, there is no version of you that doesn't win the future. That's the power you hold. Not in what you hope for, not in what you wish for, but in what you do today. This is the rebirth of your standard. This is where you stop chasing time and start commanding it. This is where you stop performing for the world and start producing from your soul. Because you're no longer waiting for the right moment. You are the right moment. This breath, this step, this single sacred opportunity to act in alignment with the highest version of you. So ask yourself again, not what do I want someday? Ask, what am I willing to do today to earn that life? And whatever the answer is, do it. Do it scared. Do it tired. Do it unsure. But do it anyway. Because this world is not shaped by those who had the most time. It is shaped by those who used their time, those who didn't waste it perfecting the plan, but executing it. Those who realized their legacy wouldn't be written in one giant leap, but in thousands of daily choices made in silence. You don't have to do it all. You just have to do something now. And keep doing it long after the mood has left, long after the applause has faded, long after the doubts have returned. Because in that moment, when most stop, you continue. And that's why you'll win. Not because it was easy, but because you made today count. And as you keep going, as you keep showing up and choosing action over excuse, effort over avoidance, the gap between who you've been and who you're becoming begins to close. Not with fireworks, not with fanfare, but with silent resolve, with consistent motion, with the steady rhythm of a life that's no longer distracted, no longer diluted, no longer dictated by fear. Because fear will always try to speak. It will whisper, rest, wait, hide. You're not ready. But now you know better. Now you answer fear with movement. Now you drown doubt in discipline. Now you use action as a weapon, not against others, but against the parts of yourself that have kept you small. And the more you act, the more power you gather. You start to realize that procrastination was never about laziness. It was about protection. It was about hiding from the magnitude of what you were capable of. Because part of you knew once you really commit, you can't unsee what you're capable of. You can't go back to average. You can't unknow your potential. So you stayed in the middle, comfortable, capable, caged. But now the door is wide open and you've walked through it. Now the only thing left is everything. Your dream, your health, your clarity, your freedom. But none of it happens someday. It happens through now. This moment, this step, this one page written, one rep lifted, one task completed, one decision made with full intention. You start stacking wins. You start building evidence. And that evidence becomes identity. You no longer have to say, I'm trying. You are. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. You know, because you've seen the results. You've felt the shift. You've stood in the fire and remembered your name. And the world starts to reflect what you've already accepted within. You don't chase anymore. You attract. You don't chase success. You create a system for it. You don't chase confidence. You embody it through the actions you've repeated until they became you. And you keep going not because you're exhausted, but because you're energized. Purpose has that effect. So don't stop now. Don't back down just because it's working. Don't slow down just because it's unfamiliar. Lean in, go deeper. Keep showing up today like everything you've ever wanted is watching, because it is. It's not waiting to see if you're perfect. It's waiting to see if you're committed. And when you commit to today, fully, fiercely, with no exit plan, you change everything. You're not just changing your schedule. You're not just changing your habits. You're not just changing your results. You're changing your identity. You're becoming the kind of person who finishes what they start. The kind of person who no longer lets fear decide. The kind of person who wakes up every morning and says, my future will be built today, because nothing else will do. You see, the world doesn't need more people who plan. It needs more people who execute. It doesn't need more vision boards. It needs more action boards, more checkboxes marked, more books written, not just thought about, more conversations had, more apologies made, more bold ideas turned into bold moves. The world responds to momentum, not ideas, not dreams. Momentum. And momentum doesn't come to the most inspired. It comes to the most consistent. This is the secret no one tells you. The winners in life are not always the most gifted, or the most intelligent, or the most privileged. They're the ones who outlasted their excuses. They're the ones who said, I will not be a slave to delay. They're the ones who turned today into their battlefield and their birthplace. Because every day you rise and choose to move forward, no matter how small the step, you are winning a private war no one will ever see. You're becoming someone no one can stop because you've stopped giving away your power to distractions, to doubt, to the idea that success is for those people. No, it's for you, but only if you show up for it. Not once, not for a week, not when you're feeling it. Every day. Let this truth tattoo itself onto your soul. You don't find your power. You prove it. And proving it isn't loud. It's not flashy. It happens in silence, in solitude, in the sacred space where no one claps and no one watches. Just you and the work and the choice. Stay the same or move anyway. So move anyway. When you're tired, when you're uncertain, when the voice of doubt is screaming and the only thing you can hold on to is your next step, take it. Because what's waiting on the other side is not just success, it's self-respect. You earn that by honoring today, by choosing not to betray the version of you that believes in more. Because that belief, that's your edge. Most people don't lose because they don't have time. They lose because They don't have belief. They've forgotten what's possible, but you haven't. You're here, listening, feeling the fire, holding on to that inner pull that says, I'm not done yet. I haven't even scratched the surface. Good. Don't scratch it. Break it open. Break open the future that's been waiting for you. Break open the strength you haven't even needed yet. Break open the version of you that will look back one day and whisper, thank you for not quitting. That future is coming, and it's being built in this moment. Right now, as you decide once again that the only thing that matters is what you do today. So do it. Own it. Build it. Bleed for it if you must. But whatever you do, don't wait. Don't wonder. Don't wish. Work. Because your future is not something you hope for. It's something you show up for. And it begins always with what you do today.